Hello everyone, welcome back to Faith for Dummies. I am one of the hosts, Rob, and one of the other hosts, Izzy, is over here. How are you, Izzy?
I'm good, thank you. We just had a nice long discussion about the use of host and co-host, which is why Rob introduced us in such a strange way. How are you doing, Rob?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. How are you? Did I ask that already?
You did, but that's okay. I'm all right. All right, thank you.
Good.
apart from that 5-minute chat we just had, have you got any dummy moments this week?
No, actually, I don't. But you know what? Today we're interviewing someone, and they have a dummy moment, so that'll be good.
Yeah, they have a dummy moment that is a lot like some of my dummy moments, so I was very happy to hear it.
Brilliant. So, on to today's episode. What are we looking at today, Izzy?
Today we are talking about whether Christians can have fun, and we decided to interview one of Rob's friends, Martin, to talk about this because he has lots of experience in youth work and having fun in youth work. So it was a really fun interview to listen to, and I think Rob really enjoyed doing it.
I did, yeah, I really did. So that's it from us. No dummy moment. Should we hand over?
Yeah, we'll see you again at the end.
All right, see you in a bit. Cool, thanks. Rob, myself, and Izzy. I'm joined with someone here. So why don't you introduce yourself to us, please?
Sure. Hey, I'm Martin. I am a gay Christian from Watford, and I have done youth work for a decade. And now I'm working in tech, and I'm building an app which is all about increasing social contact for the benefit of your mental health.
Brilliant. And how do we know each other?
Prison, wasn't it? No, we did youth work in the same area, so there was lots of times when we would join up for different sort of youth events and things like that, and we ran some things together. We bumped into each other at various Christian festivals and whatnot.
Yeah. Martin, do you have any dummy moments for us from your last week, month?
Well, yeah, you don't need to have such a large time frame. I can give you a daily dummy moment if you'd like. So yesterday's was me and my friend were hanging out for the day, and we decided we were going to have fajitas in the evening, and I'd given him a list of all the ingredients that we'd needed, and he agreed to go shopping before we met up, and so he did that. Then when we were hanging out, realised actually we'd missed a few things, so for the second time we headed off to the shops and we got a few more things. And then when it came to actually cooking the fajitas, realised we'd missed the main part of the meal. We'd missed the meat or the meat substitute, and we just didn't have the main thing for the meal. So we had to head off to the shops for a third time.
Oh dear.
Yeah. But silver linings, we got lots of exercise, and I guess that's good.
Well, thank you for sharing that. What's going on in your life at the moment, or how are you connected with youth work?
Well, I've done youth work for a long time, and chose a church, or was working for a church that wasn't just about churching church kids. Mm-hmm. They had a great ethos of doing youth work in the community for the community. And most of what I was doing was going into schools and running groups and clubs just for young people. It wasn't specifically for Christians.
Yep.
And that's what attracted me to that role and sort of opened so many doors. When I arrived at that church, it felt like the doorways had been built for me, and I just turned up and walked through them. Like I was just in the right place at the right time. And there were so many great opportunities that came along that enabled me to do youth work in a really sort of fun, exciting way, where I took young people to Israel to visit on our sort of twinned church there. I was able to help with massive festivals in the summer and had young people and young adults from our church helping out with that and being on different teams and serving, and so many weekly and monthly and yearly events that were just fun and exciting. And I think you can't not talk to me about youth work and hear my excitement for how youth work can be done in a fun, exciting way.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, you've kind of already answered some of the questions later on, so that's good. This podcast episode is called Can Christians Have Fun? So straight away, that question over to you, Martin. What do you think?
I don't think I've actually been asked by a young person that question. I don't think anyone ever came to me and was like, hey, if I join this faith? If I join your church or youth club, am I allowed to still have fun? But what I have heard is so many stereotypes that people have about Christianity.
Yeah.
And they think that church is, or being a Christian is all about church, is all about singing hymns, is about not having sex before marriage, about having fish on Fridays, that you're not allowed to swear, that you can't party, that you've got to get up at 6 a.m. and read your Bible. In essence, all those stereotypes are boring.
Yeah.
If you kind of look at them from the outside. Yeah, that's what the sort of perception, I guess, of Christianity is. Yeah, it's totally not like that. So can Christians have fun? Yes. Basically, because the perception of Christianity from the outside, all those stereotypes are just not true.
Great. I mean, I agree. Perhaps they were more focused on things that society would say would be fun. So I think you've mentioned a few, but what about then parties or alcohol or getting drunk, having TikTok? Can Christians have fun in that sense? What do you think?
I love saying to loads of different questions about faith that Jesus came and he blurred the lines, that there were all of these rules in place, that the religious leaders had missed the point, and that they had a go at Jesus when he was going around and his disciples were going around for working on the Sabbath and things like that. And Jesus over and over again would say, look, you've missed the point here. You've got a rule in your head and you're sticking to it and you've missed the point. Jesus was like, no, we're going to pick corn on the Sabbath and eat it because we're hungry. I'm going to heal this guy because he needs healing. It doesn't matter that it's the Sabbath. You know, Jesus, not to sort of misquote stories or anything like that, but when Jesus came to a party that didn't have enough wine, Jesus provided the wine. And so you're thinking, okay, actually this was a guy who wasn't boring. And like when you think, I'm thinking about boring and fun, and you think of those two things as opposites of fun and boring, and you're thinking, well, if Christianity isn't boring, is it fun all of the time?
Yeah.
But I think there's such a range of things that are different from boring that Christianity is, that you might not necessarily think of fun and aren't fun. Working hard on something often isn't fun. You can be working to achieve a goal, working and putting in loads of effort and sweat and giving your time to something for a reward, but you're not in that moment saying, oh yes, I'm having loads of fun, all this sweat and toil that I'm putting into this.
Yep.
So it's not fun, but it's definitely not boring. An athlete training for something, we might look in on that from the outside and think that's really boring. They are waking up at 5 a.m. Monday to Friday every day, and they're going and they're training and they're doing this, and their diet's restricted and they don't ever drink alcohol. But we're kind of missing then what their goal is. They have a real heart for achieving something, for getting something that makes all of that effort worth it. And I don't think they'd say that their routine is boring, because they're in it for a reason, to achieve a goal. In all of this, when Jesus was blurring the lines, he just kept coming back to saying that you've missed the point, and the point is love. You've missed the chicken in your fajita meal. You've missed the main thing. You have all this other stuff sorted, but you've missed that point, which is everything comes back to love. So yeah, you can go to a party and you can drink, because Jesus did. Sorry?
When you're over 18.
Oh, when you're over 18.
This is for teenagers, so
My bad.
That's okay.
Well, I'm saying that because Jesus did it, but it's about the motivation of why Jesus did that. So Jesus did that because he was there for the people. He was there for the community. He was there to show love to other people. He probably wasn't drinking so much that his inhibitions were lowered so that he was saying the wrong thing and upsetting other people. He wasn't drinking alone by himself so that he could cope with the day or stresses. He wasn't, it was about being with other people, about showing love, about being in that sort of space and being in community with other people. And so with all of these things, there's no real simple answer. I couldn't say actually drinking is fine for everyone, because there are some people that they have a really addictive personality. They just, one drop of the stuff would lead them down a dark path.
Yeah.
They would start using it for a purpose that isn't wholesome and about the people that you're with and showing love. Yeah.
How can we then tell as Christians if an activity that society would say is fun, for example, TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we as Christians should do that, maybe TikTok is a bit of an obvious one.
TikTok, I don't think is mentioned in the Bible. Is that right?
You are right. It's mentioned in the Bible.
But there's lots of these things where there was sort of general advice about things. So I think the rule is a really good starting point. Yeah. When you come to something that is so big as Christianity, or living your life in the way that you think God wants you to live, you have instantly a million different choices about what you're going to be doing every single day with your time and with your energy. And the rules are a good starting point, because it kind of gives you that black and whiteness to say, actually, let's not go there. Let's not do this. This is what I should be doing. And then on all of those individual points, when you reach a sort of a point when you're like, okay, I'm hitting up against a rule here over and over. Why is that rule there? And you can look into that and you can explore that. But until you take the time to understand why that rule is in place, or why that sort of roughly exists, it's kind of a good way to stop yourself from getting into something that then you can't easily retreat out of, if that makes sense.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. I mean, another reason why we've invited you on the show is because you were a youth leader for a church with lots of fun activities that happened. Can you tell us a bit more about the sorts of things that would include?
I'm going to be really bad at remembering what we did, but every term we released this program of activities of what we were doing on Thursday and Friday nights, and we had a sort of a planned activity for Thursday nights that was, if you came along, you got involved, and that would be different every week. We wouldn't repeat the same activity within a year, and it would be sort of sometimes themed. So we'd have like code breaking, or we'd go and play ultimate frisbee in the middle of the night in the park with LED frisbees and glow sticks on all the team. We'd have a summer party in the middle of winter, when we'd sort of crank up the heating and have bouncy castles and mocktails in the hall. All of these different things every Thursday. We then had a drop-in thing on the Friday night that was just, we'd have the pool table out and the sort of a bar, and we'd have football in the main hall and quiet spaces, and and so that was the same every week, and both of those attracted different crowds. And then we had our Sunday evening groups, which were more like discussion groups and little communities that you could join. And so we met at a house of one of the leaders, and we discussed big topics about life, faith, and meaning. We did, trips abroad. We did trips down to the beach. We did summer festivals, weekends away, and then other special events. So we did this escape room 3 times over the October half term. And this was a sort of an idea that I pitched, and there were some people who didn't want it to happen, because my idea was that we were going to have zombie themed stuff going on in the church. And so for some people that was a bit much, but they trusted me, which was amazing. And the point was, I was saying that this is something that would attract people who would never otherwise set foot in a church, because they have all those stereotyped ideas of what a church is about, and then they hear that there's this zombie themed escape room going on at the church, and it breaks down those barriers, and they come and they get involved. And we gave young people the flyers of, these are the activities that we get up to. This is exactly what it's like. We just have fun. We just do life together.
That sounds really cool. I remember you telling me about the escape room one of the times when you were doing it. What's the importance for being involved in a local youth group then?
When Jesus was on earth, he was doing loads of stuff. The point of while he was here, or you look at all the meals that he had with people, the times when he spoke to people, bringing the wine out at the party. It was that spending time with those people around him, the community of doing life with whom he found himself with. And I think a lot of youth work is just emulating that, doing life with other people, and then kind of like listening and learning about what it means to live as a Christian, what God wants from us, why we're here, and sort of discussing those topics in a really meaningful way. We don't have very many opportunities in life where we do sit down and discuss the meaning of life, the point of your existence, why you're here. You can go your whole teenage life without that topic ever really coming up, if you don't make sure that you're in a space where you do get the opportunity to talk and think about that.
And what about then if any of our listeners are listening to it and their church has two other teenagers in the youth group and one of them is their sibling? Basically, right, what happens if you've got a small youth group or no young people at your church, no youth provision? What can we do then?
Some of the best youth events that I had were when they were really small. When I used to work in Oxford, there were times when we would have one or two people. They were some of the best conversations that we were able to have. It wasn't maybe the activity that we planned, but we did that community, we did activities, and we're able to tailor it then for what that person wanted to do. But there's a different style, a different value, and a real value in doing youth work in a smaller group as well.
That's it, yeah. I mean, I'd really recommend sticking with it, even if you don't find it perhaps as fun as other groups, or you think, I really wish I was part of Martin's church. The local youth group is important, and it's a place where you should go and try and stick it out. Brilliant. Well, thank you, Martin. Let's say goodbye and hand back to Izzy and Rob in the studio. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Martin, for sharing all that with us, and Rob for interviewing him. What did you feel you learned or really got from what Martin said?
I really liked what Martin shared about all the different fun activities that he did, and taking a youth group to Israel. Wow, that just seems, one, so cool, and two, so much stress. And is everyone here? Has everyone got their passports? Yeah. But, yeah, that sounded really fun. Yeah, he talks about Jesus picking and eating corn on the Sabbath as a rule, and I think we've talked a little bit about it, haven't we, in one of our very first episode. So go back and have a listen to that if you want to get some more on it. But yeah, like even Jesus didn't follow that rule because there was a reason as to why he was not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I felt the same. Like, he talked a lot about having rules for a reason and not just seeing them as something that's annoying, that's kind of in your way. But if you keep hitting up against the same rule again and again, maybe exploring what it is that you don't like about that rule, or what it is that God might be trying to say to you through that, which I thought was really interesting. And just a reminder of, like, being a Christian doesn't have to not be fun, but also some parts of life just aren't fun, and that's not affected by being a Christian. I find that really helpful. It's also made me think I need to plan a massive escape room for my young people. You should do it. I actually saw a video that he did of how he set up the whole church and all the different keys and chains and padlocks and everything. It looked really professional. I kind of wish I could have done it. Oh, that's really cool. Well, maybe we need to do that. Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah, absolutely. So next week, Rob, who are we going to be talking to, and what are we talking to them about? Yeah, so next week we are actually, well, I'm not, you're interviewing someone we both know very well called George, and we're going to ask him all about his testimony, how he came to faith, and anything else that he wants to share with us, really. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great story, his testimony. So I'm very excited to do that interview and to share it with you guys. I'm very excited to hear it. Great. Well, I'll see you next week, Rob. All right. See you next week. Bye, Izzy. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye.